Hello and welcome to this video. Today we're going to talk about the benefits of agility. There are a lot of them. I've gone over them on high levels and low levels before. This is kind of a mid-level shot that we're going to take, talking about some of the benefits of agility. There's actually a whole lot because agility requires a lot to become agile. So first, obviously, there is a lot of change in the world today. There's changes in technologies, new technologies, developments, incremental developments in technologies, or brand new leaping technologies that create a whole new industries. There's changes in customers and customer needs, what customers are looking for, how they want to access you. There's changes in markets, competitors, delivery channels. There can be changes in your partners. Being able to be adaptive, remember our definition of agile is the ability to change as fast or faster than the changes that are happening in your context. This is your context. There may be other things. This list of 6 is a pretty good list, but this is your context. Any change that happens in there, you need to be nimble enough to respond to. So that fundamentally, that's why you become agile, so that you can respond quickly to those things. But there's a whole bunch of other reasons to be agile, not just to respond to change. A whole bunch of what we do in agile is about risk mitigation and about quicker delivery. So in this case, we're talking about reducing our investment overhead by dropping 3 things: reducing investment overhead, dropping bad business quickly, and trying new ideas quickly. So this release values chart is something that I use when I'm talking with folks about the idea of delivering the highest value items first. So if you're looking at this, you see release number 1 delivers 25% of the supposed value of this project or product. Release number 2 then here is going to be releasing about 17%. This is about 12%. Here's about 9%, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, 1.5, or something like that. See how it's decreasing in value. If you prioritize the work that you do by the value that it's going to provide to your customers, this is the kind of chart that you'll see. Now you can look at that and see you are reducing your investment overhead, because it can mean a couple of different things. One, your investment risk is limited to each release. So if I got through this release and things bombed, the only risk that I've had for the entire capital for the project is that release. You can reduce the overhead too by planning and placing an investment cap or an ROI cap on it. Many organizations won't take on a project if it doesn't deliver more than 25% ROI, or 20%, or 5%, or 10%, whatever their ROI in a year, or 2 or 5, whatever their metric is, right? So say the company has a metric of 6% in 1 year. That means that they won't take on any new projects that will not return 6% ROI in the second year. So the question I would have then is, if that's the case, you won't take on a project, why would you take on a feature that won't return more than your ROI threshold? Now, maybe it's a different threshold, but if you're delivering in this incremental way, why not just limit it and say anything less than our ROI threshold, we're not going to take on? Then you're able to look at your overall investment in the project and say, we're going to chop off these last 3 releases. Now, remember, this chart is showing value delivered, right? Release value. So that's customer value, which means revenue to you. It is not talking about the production cost. The production cost for each of these releases is the same. It's just the value of what they're delivering is decreasing over time. So you can see that if I look at this taper and I get down there to the end, I'm going to be, as a business owner, I'm going to be going, well, why the heck am I putting these things in? I could be putting in a different project, take this work off of these people, give them a new set of things to work on that has a higher ROI. Does that make sense? So you're then dropping bad business quickly, or good business, right? You're dropping the business that is less financially profitable for you. You're also able to try new ideas quickly. If your organization has an idea and you're able to implement it in 2 weeks or a month instead of 12 to 18 months, you're able to get feedback quicker. You're able to understand better how the market is responding to it and then adapt to those changes. So that's reducing the investment overhead, dropping bad business quickly, and trying new ideas quickly. So 3 great reasons to be agile that have nothing to do with changing quickly because of changing technologies or markets. In addition, there is improved predictability with an agile project. Now people go, what? No way. Agile is so unpredictable. You don't know when you're going to get anything. Well, no, that's not true. Actually, you are a lot more predictable. You understand a lot better where you stand. This top line here is the traditional waterfall sequential approach. I did these projects all the time. Usually they come in multiple phases, but let's just ignore that for right now. If this is the sequence, do a business case, then you gather requirements, then you do architecture and design, then we build the darn thing, then we do integration and testing, and we cut that short, and then we deploy it. If this is the sequence, what is your predictability when you are right here? When you're part of the way through the delivery, the build part of it, do you know where you are? It looks like this is a little bit over halfway, like 3/5 of the way through this project. Do we know where we are? Well, I can tell you, no, you don't. And this is what happens to me. Only the build was out here at 90%. Oops, that's going to turn red now. It was out here at 90%, and they were telling me 90, 90, 90, 90, 90, and they never delivered. And that's what made me say there has to be something better. And that's when I went out and learned about agile approaches. Because they were 90% done, but they were screwing it up completely. We actually were thrown way back to the requirements. We didn't have to go all the way to the business case, but back to the requirements stage, which means none of this work was actually worth anything. We had to throw it all away. The requirements work, the architecture and design work, and a quarter or a third of the build was gone. In this case, every time I deliver, I know I've delivered that thing because it's working software. That cannot be emphasized enough. If you're not delivering working software, you are being waterfall. You are cascading one thing into the next, and it is not able to adapt to changes. The only way you are nimble is when you are able to adapt to the changing circumstances that are happening around you. And that is when you deliver fully functioning software, you can get feedback on it and adapt it. That's what it means. With this approach, the risk is all of the work right up until you deploy, because even in integration and testing, you probably have experience. I know I have. With problems in integration or in testing that have thrown you way back in your production and build cycles. And people wonder, how can you get 70% done with a project and then all of a sudden you're only 30% done? Well, it's because it's this sequential, it's like a snowplow. And as a snowplow, you are pushing this load of risk in front of you. And it starts off small, but it builds up and builds up and builds up, and it just gets higher and higher and higher. And the risk is never done until deployment is done. The agile approach is like a snow blower. It takes it in and blows it out. There is no pile of risk in front of it. It's all, and when you stop with a snowblower, you're done, right? You could stop right there. there's no big pile of anything. If a snowplow stops, there's a huge berm, a big pile of snow that's left in the way. Same thing here. Pushing that risk forward until the ultimate mitigation, which is deployment, actually increases the risk and reduces predictability. I know exactly where I am in an agile project because I have delivered working software. And if something breaks at this point in the project, the only thing at risk is the most recent delivery. Everything else is still fully functional. And if you remember back here, everything else was the higher priority things. So if something down here breaks, release 8, it's not the highest priority stuff we're working on anymore. It's much lower. So risk mitigation, improved predictability, right there. Improved quality is another benefit of agility. If you get to the same place, or say you go all the way to production, this project goes along smoothly, you get all the way out here to testing and maybe deployment, maybe even into production. Let's say you go all the way to production. What is the quality of the product? I don't know. But if you were to rank the quality and say the quality of this product is 5 on a scale of 1 to 100. If the quality is 5 because it has only been tried and used with a small group of people, you know how when large software companies do a release, they'll often have a small, like a beta group, and then they do a rolling release, right? I've been involved with like Google releases and things like that are like that, where they have a small a little bit bigger release, and a little bit bigger release, and a little bit bigger release until they deploy the whole thing. They do that to mitigate risk. This has got a risk level or a quality level of 5. It's going to take a while for all the defects to be found and reported by the people who are using and working with all that software. You only had this little piece of time to integrate, so you weren't really able to find all of the defects and bugs. Now, contrast that with this. This has had it has had an integration here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 or 12 integration points. And this piece of software, the quality on this piece of software is 12 times better than the quality of this piece of software or that piece of software, because it has had 12 times of integration, 12 times the amount of testing done on it. The quality improvement is there. Risk reduction. So I talked about risk a little bit before, but dive into it a little bit deeper and look at some other aspects of it. Risk is a noun, a situation involving exposure or danger. Biggest project risks are, first, delivering the wrong product, right? If you deliver the wrong product, your customers don't want it. They won't buy it, and you're out. So in that sequential project on the top, when do you get feedback from your customers that this is the right product? Only after you've built the whole darn thing. In an agile, incremental, and iterative release, you get feedback all along the way from your customers. So your probability of delivering the wrong thing is significantly mitigated. Delivering the right thing too late is another big project risk, right? And again, if you're taking a waterfall approach, a sequential approach, you got one shot. You really have one shot at making it. And if you don't hit it, it comes in late. And boy, I know how many projects that I used to work on that were waterfall and came in late. They almost never come in early. I can't remember any project that ever came in early, but they know how to come in late. And flip that around, an agile project is always delivering. It's delivering way early. So you may not deliver all of the features you were hoping to deliver on the date, but you've delivered something. You've delivered the high value things. Delivering something that doesn't work, well, we just talked about that in the quality risks part of it, right? Your chances of delivering something that's broken are significantly higher in a waterfall approach. And by the way, that goes for agile. I know this happens in a lot of organizations, lots of them. Um, an agile organization that holds on to releases until a date and then does a big release. It happens, right? You're actually producing working software. You're actually producing it in increments. You're not probably, well, you may be iterating on the features with internal feedback, but you're not really getting external feedback on it. You may be getting small amounts of it, but not lots of it. And then you save, and then do a big release. That's a way of doing it. But it increases your risk when you do that. People think it's decreasing their risk, but it's actually increasing your risk because you don't know what you don't know. So being agile reduces these risks of delivering the wrong thing, delivering the right thing too late, and delivering something that doesn't work. It reduces those risks through incremental delivery of working products, through customer demos, through fast failures, through delivering the prioritized value, through loosely coupling the systems. We didn't talk about that much, but this is a principle in the architecture side. It's a technical practice within Agile that says we should make our systems loosely coupled so that they have clearly defined contracts between systems so that I can make changes in one system and it doesn't dramatically impact the other system. That's loosely coupling the systems, and that helps to improve the quality and the extensibility of your systems. It also works with distributed decision making. Huge benefits in distributed decision making in your ability to move quickly and make better decisions. When you push the decision making authority, not just responsibility, when you give that authority to the people who are closest to the information, then you're able to make better decisions faster. So there's a whole section on distributed decision making we'll talk about. So faster ROI. It's kind of hard to understand, but let's take a look at it. I'm going to go over it really fast, and you'll get the idea. This is your traditional Big Bang project. You invest. That's this payment. This is, I think they were paying $100,000 a month. And here you got 1.95 million that they've invested. And then you reach the bottom right here. That's your launch. And then you're getting this return. It's paying itself back. It's paying back. Looks like about 31 months or 32 there, you get payback. Now, if you were to actually do an agile approach, you would make your first 0 month is exactly the same. After that, you start getting, see how this is slightly curved here? That's because you're still making the same investment, but the curve is because you're offsetting because you're making some income from it as well. So you're immediately getting some income coming back into the company, paying for part of that project. So ideally, this would actually pay for itself and you'd be up here, but it doesn't always work out that way. And you can see on this one that it curves, comes down here, and comes back up at around 22 months payback. There's whole spreadsheets behind this. If you want it, just let me know. I'll talk with you about it. But you can see the difference here, right? You've improved the ROI by 6 months, at least 7 months maybe. And now you can remember on the second slide in this section, we talked about not delivering on the things that were lower in priority. Well, so you can see here that the release date's exactly the same because we delivered the full scope. Sometimes you can deliver less scope, and then your ROI becomes even faster. Now you'll note that this line is less slanted, right? It has a shallower angle than this line does, and that's because you delivered less software or because you delivered less product, it doesn't have as much income coming from that extra little piece, right? But it's a minor piece of the product, and therefore it doesn't impact it dramatically. But you can see we moved from 31 months to 17 months ROI. Significantly better. And in the end, hope and joy. My business, my mission is to bring hope and joy to people in their work. And I believe that taking an agile approach really does help with hope and joy. my favorite story about that is with the Washington State Department of Licensing. And one of the guys they were demoing some software that they had developed using Scrum. It was their first pilot project using an agile approach. And the software developer was doing his demo to the people who were going to support the product. They got done, and the support person was like, "That's great. It looks cool. It's working. I understand." But they looked right at the developer and was like, what's going on?" And the developer was like, "What?" Kind of defensive a little bit because they're being kind of called out. They said, "What's going on? I have never seen anyone from IT so happy at this point in a project. What's going on?" And he explained, well, the 24-month project that they had scoped with the traditional model, they had been delivering it in small increments. And it had been working for the 9 months that it took them to develop. So they were able to develop a 24-month project in only 9 months, having it work the whole time so that when they went to release, they weren't worried. He said, "I'm not worried like I normally would be, that there's going to be some crunch at go live. We know it works. It's been working for months." So you can have hope and joy in your work, and an agile approach can help with that. It's not the only thing, but it's a big thing. All right. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you in another video.